The blood-curdling scream that echoed through the space station wasn't human, it was something far worse. Something that made Quinn Graham's stomach drop as he sprinted down the corridor toward the containment area. Red emergency lights flashed in rhythm with the blaring alarms, casting everything in a hellish glow. Security breach in Sector 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. The automated system's voice remained calm despite the chaos. Containment failure. Specimen X-37 has escaped. Quinn swore under his breath. X-37, the alien predator they'd captured last month from the jungle moon of Proxima Centauri b. The creature scientists had labeled the most perfect killing machine in the known galaxy. And now it was loose. Graham, where the hell are you going? Chief Security Officer Maddox shouted from behind him. Evacuation pods are the other way. Quinn didn't slow down. My research is in Lab 12. All my data on X-37. If it's destroyed, your funeral, Maddox called after him, already racing in the opposite direction with the rest of the fleeing personnel. Quinn had spent 3 years studying apex predators throughout the galaxy. X-37 was his greatest discovery, a 4-meter-tall insectoid creature with razor-sharp claws, armored exoskeleton, and an intelligence that surpassed any non-sentient species they'd encountered. The military had immediately seen weapon potential, but Quinn's interest was purely scientific. Understanding how such creatures evolved could revolutionize humanity's knowledge of extraterrestrial biology. As he rounded the corner to Lab 12, a terrified technician slammed into him. "Don't go that way." The man's face was ashen. "It's in there. It killed Jennings, tore him apart like paper." Quinn's blood ran cold. "It's in my lab." The technician nodded frantically before continuing his desperate flight. Quinn hesitated only for a moment. His research represented years of work. He couldn't abandon it. Taking a deep breath, he crept toward the lab entrance. The reinforced door hung from a single hinge, twisted and mangled as if hit by a battering ram. Inside, the lab was in ruins. Equipment lay scattered and broken across the floor, and in the center, hunched over a workstation, was X-37. The creature stood taller than any human, its chitinous exoskeleton gleaming darkly under the emergency lights. 6 limbs, 4 arms ending in terrifying claws, and 2 powerful legs supported its body. Its elongated head swiveled toward Quinn as he entered, multiple eyes focusing on him with predatory precision. Quinn froze. The evacuation protocols had been drilled into every station member. In case of containment breach, reach the escape pods. Nobody had been stupid enough to add, "Unless you want to retrieve your research notes while a death beast is ransacking your lab." The creature made a clicking sound deep in its throat and stepped toward him. Quinn noticed it was limping, dark fluid leaking from a wound on one of its legs. "You're hurt," he said softly, more to himself than to the creature. X-37 tilted its head, eyes still locked on Quinn. It made another clicking sound followed by a low growl. In that moment, Quinn made a decision that would either be recorded as a breakthrough in xenobiology or as his spectacularly foolish last words. Slowly, he raised his hands to show he was unarmed. "It's okay," he said, keeping his voice calm and even. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature's front limbs flexed, displaying wicked claws that could easily disembowel a human. It took another step toward him. Quinn remembered something from his research on Earth predators, how some animals responded to confident, non-threatening behavior. It was a long shot with an alien species, but he had no other options. "Good boy," he said softly. "You're a good boy, aren't you?" X-37 paused, its head tilting further to the side. Sweat beaded on Quinn's forehead as he slowly lowered himself to a crouching position, making himself appear smaller and less threatening. "That's right. Good boy." The creature approached cautiously, its movements still predatory but somehow less menacing. When it was just 2 meters away, Quinn noticed the wound on its leg more clearly, a deep gash that must have happened during its escape. "You're in pain," Quinn said. "That's why you're angry, isn't it?" X-37 made a sound Quinn hadn't heard before, a sort of rumbling purr that vibrated through the air. Drawing on everything he knew about animal behavior, Quinn slowly extended his hand, palm down, in a non-threatening gesture. "It's okay. Good boy." The alien predator leaned forward, its deadly mandibles mere centimeters from Quinn's outstretched fingers. Quinn could smell its breath, a strange mixture of ammonia and something like cinnamon. He fought the urge to pull back, to run. Instead, he remained still, maintaining eye contact with the creature. After what felt like an eternity, X-37 lowered its head and pressed against Quinn's hand. "That's it," Quinn whispered, scarcely believing what was happening. "Good boy." Gradually, he began to stroke the smoother parts of the creature's exoskeleton, avoiding the sharp edges and spines. X-37's purring increased in volume. "You like that, don't you?" Quinn said, gaining confidence. "You're not just a killing machine, you're intelligent." The creature sank down to the floor, extending its wounded leg toward Quinn as if asking for help. Quinn examined the injury carefully. The exoskeleton was cracked, and the flesh beneath was torn. "I need to treat that," he said. "Will you let me help you?" As if understanding, X-37 remained still. Quinn slowly backed toward a medical cabinet that was miraculously still intact. Keeping his eyes on the alien, he retrieved a medical kit. "This might sting," he warned as he approached with antiseptic and bandages. To his amazement, X-37 allowed him to clean and dress the wound. The creature flinched occasionally, but didn't attack. When Quinn finished, the alien examined the bandage with one of its secondary limbs, then looked back at Quinn. "Good boy," Quinn said again, and reached out to gently pat the creature's abdomen. What happened next defied all his expectations. X-37 rolled onto its back, exposing its less armored underside, a position of vulnerability that no predator would normally assume. Its multiple limbs relaxed at its sides. "You want belly rubs?" Quinn asked incredulously. He cautiously placed his hand on the creature's abdomen and began to rub in circular motions. The purring sound intensified dramatically, and X-37's limbs twitched in what appeared to be pleasure. "You're just a big softy, aren't you?" Quinn said, a smile breaking across his face despite the absurdity of the situation. "A good boy who's been misunderstood." The creature's eyes had half closed in what looked remarkably like contentment. The emergency siren suddenly ceased, plunging the lab into relative quiet. A moment later, the intercom crackled. "This is Director Hammond. All security teams converge on Lab 12. Heat signatures indicate the target is there with a human. Prepare to terminate both if necessary." Quinn's heart raced. They would kill X-37 without hesitation, and possibly him too for interfering with the containment protocols. "We need to get you somewhere safe," he told the creature, who was still enjoying the belly rubs. "Can you stand? Can you follow me?" X-37 rolled back onto its feet with surprising grace for such a large being. It looked at Quinn expectantly. "Good boy," Quinn said. "Follow me, quietly." He moved toward the lab's rear exit, and to his astonishment, the creature followed obediently, limping slightly but moving with determination. Quinn had no clear plan, just a desperate need to protect this extraordinary being that had trusted him. As they slipped into the service corridor beyond the lab, Quinn heard the security team approaching from the main entrance. They had minutes at most before the station would be locked down completely. "We need to reach the shuttle bay," he whispered to X-37. "I think I know somewhere we can go." The alien predator made a soft clicking sound and stayed close to Quinn's side as they navigated the dimly lit maintenance tunnels. Every few meters, Quinn would pause to listen for pursuit, and each time he would reassuringly pat X-37's side. "Good boy," he'd whisper. "You're doing great." They reached a junction where the tunnel split in 3 directions. Quinn hesitated, trying to recall the station's layout. "Left," he decided. The shuttle bay should be. A security officer appeared at the end of the right corridor, weapon raised. "Freeze! Step away from the specimen." X-37 immediately moved in front of Quinn, its body language shifting from docile to defensive in an instant. A terrifying growl emanated from deep within its chest. "No," Quinn said firmly, placing a hand on the creature's side. "No attacking. Good boys don't attack." To the security officer's visible astonishment, X-37 relaxed slightly, though it remained protectively positioned. "Graham, have you lost your mind?" The officer Ellis, Quinn recognized, kept his weapon trained on the alien. "That thing has killed 3 people. It was scared and injured," Quinn explained, maintaining contact with X-37. "It's intelligent, Ellis, more intelligent than we realized. It understands communication, emotion." "Back away from it now, Graham. That's an order." Quinn felt X-37 tensing again. "If you shoot, you'll provoke it." "Lower your weapon and I'll show you." Ellis's grip on his rifle tightened. 30 seconds and then I'm calling for backup." Quinn turned to X-37, looking directly into its multiple eyes. "Sit," he said firmly but gently. "Please." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, X-37 lowered itself into a sitting position, its legs folded beneath it. "Good boy," Quinn said, rubbing the creature's head. "Such a good boy." Ellis lowered his weapon slightly, his expression a mixture of disbelief and caution. "How are you doing that?" "The same way humans have formed bonds with animals throughout history," Quinn said. "Trust, kindness, and positive reinforcement. It responds to good boy especially well. It's killed people, Graham. It was defending itself." "Wouldn't you fight back if you were captured, imprisoned, and experimented on?" Ellis hesitated, then slowly lowered his weapon completely. "Director Hammond has ordered its termination. The security teams are sweeping the station section by section." Quinn felt a surge of desperation. "Help us, Ellis. There's a research outpost on Ganymede where I have colleagues. They'll let me continue my work with X-37 without military interference. You're asking me to commit career suicide. I'm asking you to save a unique, intelligent life form." "Look at him," Quinn gestured to X-37, who remained sitting calmly despite the tension. "Does this look like a mindless killing machine to you?" Ellis studied the creature for a long moment, then sighed. "Shuttle Bay 3 is on minimal security because of the evacuation. I can't go with you, but I can give you 15 minutes before I report this encounter." Relief flooded through Quinn. "Thank you. Don't make me regret this," Ellis said, then pointed down the left corridor. "Take the second right, then straight to the service elevator. That'll bring you directly to the lower shuttle bay." Quinn nodded gratefully. "Come on, boy," he said to X-37. "Time to go." The alien rose smoothly and followed Quinn down the corridor. As they disappeared from view, Ellis shook his head in disbelief. The journey to Shuttle Bay 3 was tense, but uneventful. They encountered no other personnel. Everyone had either evacuated or was participating in the search on the upper levels. The service elevator was large enough to accommodate X-37's bulk, though the creature seemed uncomfortable in the confined space. "Almost there," Quinn reassured it, giving its side a comforting pat. "You're being such a good boy." The shuttle bay was deserted when they arrived. Quinn quickly located a small research vessel, the Galileo, used for short scientific expeditions. It wasn't designed for long-distance travel, but it could reach Ganymede with careful navigation. "In here," he told X-37, guiding the creature up the shuttle's ramp. The interior was cramped for the large alien, but X-37 seemed to understand the necessity of the situation and folded itself into the cargo area. Quinn worked quickly at the control panel, initiating the launch sequence and overriding the security protocols with his research clearance. The bay doors began to open. Freedom was minutes away, then the alarm sounded. "Security breach in Shuttle Bay 3, the automated system announced. "Unauthorized launch detected. Security teams respond immediately." Quinn accelerated the launch procedures, his fingers flying over the controls. The shuttle's engines hummed to life just as the bay doors finished their slow opening process. "Shuttle Galileo, this is Director Hammond." A stern voice came through the communication system. "Power down immediately, or we will be forced to take defensive measures." Quinn opened the channel. "Director, this is Dr. Graham. X-37 is not what we thought. It's intelligent, capable of understanding communication and forming bonds. I can prove it if you'll just... You have 30 seconds to power down, Doctor. This is your only warning." In the cargo area, X-37 had become agitated, sensing the danger. It moved restlessly, making clicking sounds that seemed anxious. "It's okay," Quinn called to it. "You're a good boy. We're going to be fine." The creature calmed somewhat at the sound of his voice and the familiar phrase. Quinn made his decision. He sealed the shuttle's hatch and engaged the thrusters. The Galileo shot forward out of the bay, accelerating rapidly into space. Quinn expected immediate pursuit, but the radar remained clear. Perhaps Ellis had bought them more time than promised. Once they were safely away from the station, Quinn set the autopilot for Ganymede and went back to check on his unusual passenger. X-37 had settled into a corner of the cargo area, its injured leg extended carefully. "We made it," Quinn told it, kneeling beside the great beast. "You did so well." "Such a good boy." X-37 made the purring sound again and leaned toward Quinn. Cautiously, Quinn began to stroke the smooth parts of its exoskeleton, eventually working his way to its abdomen. The alien immediately rolled onto its back, limbs relaxed. Quinn laughed and provided the desired belly rubs. "You're going to change how humans think about alien life," he told the creature. "You're not just a predator, you're something much more complex." As X-37 purred contentedly under his touch, Quinn marveled at the strange turn his life had taken. Just hours ago, this being had been classified as the deadliest non-sentient creature ever encountered by humanity. Now, it was lying on its back enjoying belly rubs like an oversized puppy. The journey to Ganymede would take several days. Quinn would need to tend to X-37's wound, figure out a proper diet for it, and somehow explain to his colleagues why he had arrived with the galaxy's most feared predator in tow. But as he watched X-37's clear enjoyment of the simple physical affection, Quinn felt certain he had made the right choice. Understanding alien life wasn't just about classification and study from a distance, it was about connection, about recognizing intelligence and emotional capacity, even when it came in forms vastly different from human. "Good boy," he said again, and X-37 purred louder. The Galileo's communication system suddenly activated. "Shuttle Galileo, this is Director Hammond. Return to the station immediately or we will be forced to dispatch interceptors." Quinn sighed and gave X-37 a final pat before returning to the cockpit. The creature followed, moving more easily now despite its injury. Director, I urge you to reconsider, Quinn said into the calm. X-37 is not a threat if treated properly. It's intelligent, capable of understanding commands and forming bonds. Your judgment has been compromised, Doctor. That creature killed 3 of our personnel. Because it was treated like a mindless animal, it was defending itself. Quinn took a deep breath. Let me demonstrate. Activate your video feed. There was a pause then. Video feed active. Quinn turned to X-37, who was watching him curiously. Sit, he said clearly. The alien predator immediately lowered itself into a sitting position. Good boy, Quinn said, stroking its head. Now lie down. X-37 extended its body onto the floor of the shuttle, its multiple eyes still fixed on Quinn. Roll over, Quinn commanded. The creature rolled onto its back, exposing its vulnerable underside. Quinn looked directly into the camera. Does this look like an uncontrollable killing machine to you, Director? Hammond's voice, when it came, held a note of astonishment. How long have you been training it? I haven't been, Quinn explained. This all started less than 2 hours ago when I found it injured in my lab. It responded to gentle treatment and positive reinforcement immediately. X-37 isn't just a predator, it's a highly intelligent being capable of understanding complex communication. Silence stretched for nearly a minute. Finally, Hammond spoke again. Return to the station, Dr. Graham. I give you my word that no harm will come to the specimen pending further evaluation. Quinn looked at X-37, who had rolled back onto its feet and was watching him intently. What do you think, boy? Should we trust them? The creature made a soft clicking sound and nudged Quinn's hand with its head. We're coming back, Quinn decided. But I need your guarantee that X-37 will be treated as an intelligent being, not as a specimen or potential weapon. You'll have charge of its care, Hammond agreed. But security protocols will remain in place until we can verify your claims more thoroughly. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Quinn adjusted the shuttle's course back toward the station. Good boy, he told X-37, who had settled beside him in the cockpit. We're going to change some minds. Upon their return to the station, they were met by a heavily armed security team. X-37 growled softly at the sight of the weapons, pressing closer to Quinn. Lower your weapons, Quinn ordered. You're scaring him. Him, Director Hammond stepped forward, eyeing the creature warily. You've assigned it a gender. He responds better to good boy than good girl, Quinn explained with a slight smile. It seemed appropriate. Hammond gestured for the security team to lower their weapons. The creature will be relocated to Observation Habitat 1. It's larger than the previous containment area and has environmental controls we can adjust for comfort. His name is X-37, Quinn said firmly. Or we could come up with something better, but he's not the creature or it anymore. Hammond's expression remained skeptical, but he nodded. Very well, please escort X-37 to the observation habitat. Dr. Graham will accompany you. The walk through the station was tense. Personnel stopped to stare as Quinn led the enormous alien predator through the corridors, occasionally patting its side and murmuring, "Good boy," when it seemed anxious. X-37 remained close to Quinn, its body language alert but not aggressive. Observation Habitat 1 was indeed much more spacious than the containment cell where X-37 had been kept before. It had been designed to recreate alien environments for study, with adjustable gravity, temperature, and atmospheric composition. Currently, it was set to approximate the conditions of Proxima Centauri B's jungle moon. This is your new home, Quinn told X-37 as they entered the habitat. Much better than before, right? The alien moved cautiously into the space, exploring the artificial terrain with evident curiosity. Quinn noticed how it tested the synthetic soil with its claws, examined the cultivated alien vegetation, and investigated the small artificial stream that ran through the habitat. "He needs medical attention for his leg," Quinn told Hammond, who was watching from the observation window. "And I'll need to stay with him until he's comfortable with the new environment." Hammond nodded. "Dr. Reyes will bring medical supplies. We'll set up temporary quarters for you adjacent to the habitat." He paused. "I hope you understand the significance of what you're claiming, Graham. If X-37 truly possesses the intelligence you suggest, it would fundamentally change our approach to alien life forms." "That's exactly the point," Quinn said. "We've been too quick to classify, to judge based on appearance and initial behavior. X-37 is a predator, yes, but he's also capable of understanding, learning, even forming bonds." As if to illustrate his point, X-37 returned to Quinn's side and gently bumped its head against his shoulder. "Good boy," Quinn said automatically, rubbing the smooth part of its head. The purring sound filled the habitat. Hammond's expression shifted from skepticism to wonder. "Remarkable," he murmured. "We'll begin formal intelligence assessment tomorrow. For now, get him settled and tend to that wound." After Hammond left, Dr. Reyes arrived with medical supplies. She was visibly nervous around X-37, keeping a safe distance as she handed the supplies to Quinn. "Is it really safe?" she asked, watching as the massive alien followed Quinn around the habitat. Quinn corrected gently. "And yes, as long as you don't threaten him. Watch." He turned to X-37. "Sit, please." The alien immediately sat, its multiple eyes watching Quinn expectantly. "Good boy," Quinn said, and began to unwrap the makeshift bandage he'd applied earlier. "This is Dr. Reyes. She's a friend." X-37 turned its attention to Reyes, studying her with intelligent curiosity. "Try talking to him," Quinn suggested as he cleaned the wound with antiseptic. Reyes hesitated, then stepped closer. "Hello, X-37, she said, her voice slightly shaky. "It's nice to meet you." The alien made a soft clicking sound and extended one of its secondary limbs toward her, not threatening, but as if offering a greeting. "You can touch him," Quinn encouraged. "Just be gentle." With trembling fingers, Reyes lightly touched the offered limb. "Your exoskeleton is fascinating," she said, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "The segmentation pattern is unlike anything I've studied before." X-37 remained still, allowing her examination. When Quinn finished treating the wound, he gave the alien another belly rub as a reward for good behavior. X-37's purring intensified, and even Reyes smiled at the incongruous sight. "It's like watching someone pet a tiger," she remarked. "Except tigers don't have 6 limbs and aren't from another planet. He responds to positive reinforcement just like many Earth animals," Quinn explained. "The phrase 'good boy' seems to have particular significance. Perhaps it's the tone or the repetition." Over the next few days, a team of scientists conducted various tests to assess X-37's intelligence. They discovered he could understand basic commands in English, recognize and remember individual humans, solve complex puzzles to obtain food, and even use simple tools. Most remarkably, X-37 began to communicate back. He developed a series of clicks, purrs, and gestures that Quinn and the team gradually learned to interpret. A specific head tilt meant curiosity. A double tap of his front limb meant he wanted attention. A particular purring sound indicated contentment. 2 weeks after the escape incident, Director Hammond called a special meeting of the station's senior staff. "Based on the findings of Dr. Graham and his team, we are officially reclassifying X-37 as a sentient species," he announced. This represents the first confirmed encounter with a non-human intelligent life form, capable of meaningful communication with humans. Quinn felt a surge of pride as he listened to Hammond outline the new protocols for interaction with X-37 and future encounters with similar species. No more containment cells. No more invasive testing without consent. No more treatment as specimens rather than beings. After the meeting, Quinn returned to the observation habitat, which had been increasingly modified to suit X-37's preferences. The alien was waiting by the entrance, a behavior he had developed whenever Quinn left. "Hey, big guy," Quinn greeted him. "Good news. You're officially recognized as intelligent now." X-37 made the clicking sound that Quinn had come to interpret as pleased interest. "That means no more tests unless you want to participate," Quinn explained, stroking the smooth part of the alien's head. "And we're going to try to learn more of your language instead of just teaching you ours." The alien predator leaned into the touch, its purring filling the room. Then it gently tugged at Quinn's sleeve and led him to a corner of the habitat where it had arranged some objects in a pattern. Quinn studied the arrangement with surprise. X-37 had placed various items, food containers, medical supplies, and parts of enrichment toys in what appeared to be a deliberate sequence. "Are you trying to tell me something?" Quinn asked. X-37 made an affirmative clicking sound and pointed with one limb to the first object, then to himself, then to Quinn. Understanding dawned slowly. "You're creating a shared language," Quinn realized. "Object associations we can both understand." The alien's multiple eyes seemed to gleam with something like satisfaction. Quinn sat down beside the arrangement, and X-37 settled next to him. Together, they began the slow process of building a bridge between their vastly different worlds, a bridge founded on mutual respect, curiosity, and the simple pleasure of connection. "Good boy," Quinn said softly, and X-37 purred his agreement. Over the following months, communication with X-37 improved dramatically. The science team developed a translation device that could interpret his clicks and purrs into basic English, while X-37 became increasingly adept at understanding human speech and gestures. They learned that his species, which he identified through a complex series of sounds that the translation device rendered as Kharex, were not naturally aggressive. They were territorial predators on their home moon, yes, but also social creatures with complex family structures and a rich system of communication. X-37, who eventually received the name Rix from the team, based on the sound he used to identify himself, explained through the translator that he had been separated from his family group during a hunt when the human expedition captured him. His aggression had been fear and confusion, not inherent hostility. 6 months after the escape incident, Quinn found himself preparing for an unprecedented mission. With Rix's guidance, they had located his home territory on Proxima Centauri B's jungle moon. Director Hammond had authorized an expedition to establish first contact with the rest of the Kharex. "Are you excited to go home?" Quinn asked Rix as they loaded supplies onto the expedition shuttle. Rix made a complex series of clicks that the translator interpreted as "home good." But Quinn friend also good. Both good. Quinn smiled and gave the now familiar belly rub that Rix still enjoyed. "I'll miss you too, good boy." The alien had grown even larger during his time on the station, his exoskeleton now gleaming with health. The wound on his leg had healed completely, leaving only a slight discoloration in the chitin. "Dr. Graham," Director Hammond approached them at the shuttle bay. "Final preparations are complete. Your team is ready whenever you are." The expedition team consisted of Quinn, 3 other xenobiologists, a linguistic specialist, and 2 security personnel, the latter at Hammond's insistence, though Quinn had argued they were unnecessary. "Thank you, Director," Quinn said, "for everything. 6 months ago, you were ready to terminate Rix as a threat. Now you're funding a first contact mission based on his information." Hammond nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It's been a learning experience for all of us. The Kharex could become valuable allies for humanity if this goes well." Quinn placed a hand on Rix's side. "They're already valuable, regardless of any alliance. They're intelligent beings with their own culture and history. That's enough." The director smiled slightly. "Safe journey, Doctor. We expect regular updates." As they boarded the shuttle, Rix moved with obvious excitement, his body language animated in a way Quinn had learned to read as anticipation. The translation device picked up a stream of clicks too rapid to properly interpret. "Calm down, good boy," Quinn said with a laugh. "We'll be there in a few days. The journey to Proxima Centauri be passed quickly." Quinn spent much of it working with Rix and the linguistic specialist, Dr. Chen, to refine their understanding of Kharex communication. They developed a more comprehensive translation algorithm and practiced the formal greeting rituals Rix insisted were important. When they finally landed on the jungle moon, the humid air and strange scents filled the shuttle as soon as the door opened. Rix was the first to exit, his multiple limbs moving with graceful efficiency on his native terrain. He stood at the edge of the ramp, his head raised as he sampled the air. "Home," the translator interpreted his soft clicks. "Family near." Quinn and the team followed, weapons holstered and translation devices ready. They had agreed to let Rix lead the way and make the initial contact with his people. The jungle was unlike anything on Earth: giant fern-like plants with iridescent fronds, trees with spiral trunks that reached impossibly high, and constant motion from small creatures that scattered at their approach. The atmosphere was breathable for humans but had a higher oxygen content that made them feel slightly lightheaded. After an hour of trekking through the dense vegetation, Rix suddenly stopped. "Wait," he clicked. "Call family now." He raised his head and emitted a series of loud, complex sounds that echoed through the jungle. Then he turned to Quinn. "Good, very good," Quinn assured him, giving the alien side a pat. "Good boy." They waited in tense silence for several minutes. Then the vegetation ahead began to move, and 3 Kharex emerged into the clearing. They were similar to Rix in basic structure, but with variations in size, coloration, and the patterns on their exoskeletons. One was noticeably larger, with battle scars evident on its chitin. Rix stepped forward and performed an elaborate greeting ritual involving specific limb movements and vocalizations. The other Kharex responded in kind, their initial wariness giving way to what Quinn interpreted as surprise and joy. "Family," Rix clicked to Quinn. "Father Leader, Sister Hunter, Brother Scout." Quinn stepped forward slowly, hands visible and empty. "Hello," he said, the translation device converting his words to Kharex clicks. "I am Quinn Graham, friend of Rix." The largest Kharex, Rix's father, approached Quinn with deliberate steps. It studied him with multiple eyes, then extended a limb toward him. Quinn remembered what Rix had taught him and gently touched the offered limb with his hand. "We come in peace," he said, "to learn and understand." The father leader made a series of clicks that the translator struggled with before rendering. "Son tells strange story. Taken by sky people. Then sky person gives comfort touches and says good sound. Now son brings sky people to home territory. Why?" Quinn explained how they had misunderstood Rix at first, treating him as a specimen rather than a person, but had learned from their mistake. He described how a simple act of kindness, the belly rubs and good boy affirmations, had broken through the fear and aggression to establish communication. As he spoke, the other members of his team spread out slightly, recording the interaction and taking environmental readings but maintaining a respectful distance. When Quinn finished, the father leader was silent for a long moment. Then it made a sound Quinn hadn't heard before, a melodic trilling that Rix immediately echoed. "What does that mean?" Quinn asked Rix. "Laughter," the translator interpreted. "Father says sky people strange to use young comfort on adult warrior, but good strange." The tension broke. The Kharex began to interact more openly with the human team, examining their equipment with curious limbs and exchanging simple phrases through the translators. Rix moved between the groups, facilitating communication and clearly enjoying his role as intermediary. At one point, Quinn noticed the sister hunter watching him closely as he patted Rix's side and said, "Good boy," after a particularly helpful translation. She approached and made a series of clicks. "Show comfort touch," the translator rendered. Quinn hesitated, then demonstrated a gentle stroking motion on Rix's exoskeleton. "Like this," he explained. "It's called petting where I come from. And this," he added, giving Rix a belly rub when the alien obligingly rolled onto his back, "is a special version called a belly rub." To Quinn's astonishment, the sister hunter lowered herself to the ground in a similar position. "Try," she clicked. Feeling somewhat surreal, Quinn carefully gave the female Kharex a gentle belly rub. She immediately began purring, her limbs relaxing. "Good girl," Quinn said with a smile. The purring intensified, and soon the brother scout approached, clearly wanting to experience this strange but pleasant interaction for himself. Before long, Quinn found himself giving belly rubs to 3 alien predators while his team watched in amazement. "I think we've discovered the universal language," Dr. Chen remarked with a laugh. "Everybody likes a good belly rub." That evening, the humans were invited to the Kharex settlement, a complex arrangement of woven vegetation and carved stone structures hidden within the dense jungle. They shared a meal, the humans sticking to their own rations after politely declining raw meat, and continued the cultural exchange. Quinn sat beside Rix, watching as humans and Kharex found ways to bridge their differences through shared curiosity and respect. The father leader had assigned several young Kharex to learn the human language, while Dr. Chen was already compiling a more comprehensive Kharex dictionary. "Did you ever imagine this?" Quinn asked Rix quietly. "When you were first captured, did you think we would end up here?" Rix made a negative clicking sound. "Thought death only." Then Quinn friend gave good sound and comfort touch, changed everything. Quinn nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes the smallest gestures have the biggest impact. As night fell on the jungle moon, the Kharex built a large fire in the center of the settlement. The father leader announced, through the translator, that they would perform the story dance of first meeting, a new addition to their cultural history that would commemorate the day humans and Kharex became friends. The dance was hypnotic, 6-limbed forms moving with surprising grace around the fire, acting out the capture of Rix, his escape, and the moment Quinn had first called him good boy and given him a belly rub. The human team watched in awe as their own actions were incorporated into alien cultural tradition before their eyes. When the dance ended, the father leader approached Quinn. "Son says you return to Sky home soon." "Yes," Quinn confirmed. "But we hope this is just the beginning of friendship between our peoples." The father leader extended a limb which Quinn clasped in what had become their customary greeting. "Rick stays or goes," Quinn looked at his friend. They hadn't discussed this directly. "That's his choice," he said. He's welcome to come back with us or stay here with his family. Rix made a series of complex clicks that the translator couldn't fully capture. After a moment, he simplified. Both home now. Stay here season cycle. Then visit sky home season cycle. Be bridge between peoples. Quinn felt a mix of emotions, pride in Rix's decision, sadness at the coming separation, but joy at the friendship they had forged. That sounds perfect, good boy. The next morning, as the human team prepared to depart, the entire Kharex community gathered to see them off. Gifts were exchanged, human technology for Kharex art and cultural artifacts. The father leader formally invited a permanent human delegation to establish a cultural exchange outpost near their settlement. When the moment of departure finally came, Quinn found himself reluctant to leave. He and Rix had shared so much in the past 6 months. The alien predator had gone from specimen to friend, from feared beast to cultural ambassador. "I'll miss you," Quinn told him. Rix made the trilling sound that indicated understanding. "Miss Quinn, friend too. But come back soon with more sky people. Teach more about stars." "I promise," Quinn said, giving Rix one final belly rub. "And you can show me more of your world when I return." The alien rolled happily under the touch, purring loudly. "Good boy," Quinn said, and Rix clicked in agreement. As the shuttle lifted off, Quinn watched through the viewport as Rix stood with his family, all 6 limbs raised in farewell. The jungle moon fell away beneath them, becoming a blue-green jewel against the blackness of space. Dr. Chen sat down beside Quinn. "Quite a story to tell when we get back," she remarked. "How humanity made first contact with an intelligent alien species because you gave it belly rubs and called it a good boy." Quinn smiled, his eyes still on the receding moon. "Sometimes understanding begins with the simplest gestures," he said. "We just have to be willing to try." The shuttle accelerated toward the waiting research vessel, carrying the team and the incredible news of successful first contact back to Earth. Quinn knew that the relationship between humans and Kharex was just beginning, that there would be challenges and misunderstandings ahead, but also discoveries and friendships that would change both species. And it had all started with those simple words, "good boy," and the universal language of kindness.